So I'm all about finding ways that you can better your mind to ultimately become the best person that you can be, whether it's in the gym or whether it's in life. Okay? And a lot of it comes down to something that I've heard of that's called flow. Now, the flow state is something that most people don't realize what it really is. It's when you are in such a creative state of flow that you can get a lot of things done and allows you to really do some of your best work. And quite honestly, I've been reading a book called The Rise of Superman. The Rise of Superman is by Steven Kotler, and it really outlines this exceptionally well, puts it into a very unique perspective that athletes and non-athletes can understand. And I've been listening to an audiobook from Audible, so I want to give a big shout out to them. In fact, I've teamed up with Audible, and they're offering everyone that is watching this video a chance to try them out free for 30 days. All you have to do is go to audible.com/sixpack, SIXPACK, or simply text the word SixPack, SIXPACK, to 500 500. And there you can download a totally free title and you can check it out for yourself. Now, Audible has so much in the way of top audiobooks from the top publishers, from the top broadcasters, and the top news stations, your favorite entertainers, even sportscasters, and ultimately the business information that you might need to take your life to the next level. So make sure that you check them out. Now, like I said, I've been listening to The Rise of Superman. Now, Rise of Superman is all about the flow state. And this appealed to me because I was always interested in learning how I could optimize my brain a little bit more. But what I liked about the way Steven Kotler put it in the audiobook was that when you are someone that is in the zone, we've oftentimes heard of it as being in the zone, you are really in a flow state. And he puts it into a different perspective by talking about athletes and talking about people that are doing extreme sports or even adrenaline junkies, and how when they get into this flow state, they're ultimately doing their best work. So we're talking about situations where skydivers are able to think in the very, very quick seconds that they need to be able to make amazing decisions that are sometimes even life or death. So it's really, really intriguing how our brain chemistry works. And I thought that this was totally relevant when it came down to working out, when it came down to nutrition, because if you really want to perform at your best in the gym or just outside or when you're just being active, you really have to be getting into that flow state. So this video, I want to give you some breakdown and give you some specific foods that you can also use to help yourself get into that flow state. But I did want to make sure that I get a big thank you out to Audible for making it possible for everyone to take part in the same kind of thing that I've been taking part in by listening to The Rise of Superman. So what can you do to help yourself get into that flow state a little bit better? The thing is, flow state's kind of a magical thing that's going to happen one way or the other. It's going to happen when you're focused. It's going to happen when you're just in the groove. Have you ever been working on something and maybe you realize that all of a sudden 6 hours have gone by and you just didn't even realize what the time went? That's a good example of being in a flow state. Quite honestly, people get into that flow state even when they play video games. That's why playing video games, a lot of times time just goes by really, really fast. You're so hyper-focused. You are so very much so focused on a very little minute thing that everything else slows down except for that one thing that is just happening right in front of you. And then next thing you know, you don't even know where time went. Sometimes it goes really slow, times it goes really fast. You just don't even know. That is flow state. And the interesting thing is, even Steven Kotler talked about the fact that you shouldn't be making important life-changing decisions as far as your finances and things like that go when you're in a state of flow, because you're not activating your cortex. You're working on your subconscious. So your subconscious mind will allow you to take these different measures that you need to do your best creative work. So someone that is really working on something that needs to be very, very, very meticulous is going to get into a flow state. And they're going to ultimately turn off their prefrontal cortex a little bit so that their subconscious can kick in and they can just get into the groove or get into flow. So the first food or the first thing that I want you to do with your diet to start monitoring your flow a little bit better is actually to reserve caffeine for when you need it the most. You see, caffeine actually activates the prefrontal cortex a little bit, which is okay. I'm a big fan of caffeine. I'm a big fan of caffeine for workouts. But if there's a very specific point in time where you need to be hyper focused, you actually might want to limit the caffeine a little bit, because it is going to shuttle the energy over to the prefrontal cortex a little bit more, making it more difficult for you to get into that subconscious. And that subconscious is what we need to get that creative state. So if you're designing a workout for yourself, or you're really trying to plan out the next 12 weeks of your workout protocol, you might want to limit the caffeine while you plan it out so that you can actually tap into what's really good for your body. Okay, next up is megadosing on docosahexaenoic acid, or megadosing on fish oil the day that you think you're going to be getting into a flow state. See, because what that docosahexaenoic acid does is it increases that cell flexibility, okay, that fluidity. So it allows cells to communicate better. It makes them more fluid. It makes it so that they can move throughout the ecosystem of your brain a little bit easier and send signals to one another. That is really good when you're in a creative state. I mean, it's good when you're in a non-creative state too, but it's going to help exponentially when it's combined with limited caffeine and this next thing, which I'm going to talk about, which is chocolate. Dark chocolate that is totally unsweetened. You see, dark chocolate increases what is known as anandamide. And I've done videos recently talking about anandamide, so it's kind of funny that this comes up again. But anandamide is known as the bliss component of your body. Okay, not only does it modulate inflammation in the body, it also modulates inflammation in the brain, making it a lot easier to activate different portions and subsets of your brain that are going to allow you to get more out of not only your workout, but out of whatever you are focusing on at that very point in time. So, since you don't want the carbohydrate load with it, you might as well go for the dark, unsweetened baking chocolate that you can get down in the baking aisle. And you will find that not only it gives you a little bit of a boost, but it helps you feel nice and clear. And you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, you just said don't have caffeine. The amount of caffeine that's in a little bit of dark baking chocolate is negligible. Very, very small amount. So don't get hung up on that. So I had heard about flow before, but listening to Rise of Superman really drilled it into me how important it is, and how if we really start to understand it, we can get a lot more out of life. Now here's the cool thing about Audible, is an Audible membership actually gives you 1 free credit every month. So that means you can download a new audiobook every single month. And the cool thing is, if you don't use one month, they roll over to the next month, so you don't lose them. And additionally, if you're not satisfied with any of the books that you end up downloading, you can always exchange it. They basically have a no questions asked policy when it comes to that. So if you want to take advantage of the 30-day free trial of Audible, I definitely encourage you to head on over to audible.com/sixpack, SIXPACK, or text SixPack, SIXPACK, to 500-500. Again, that's audible.com/sixpack, or text the word SixPack, SIXPACK, to 500-500. And there you can take advantage of a 30-day trial and get the most out of your life and get the most out of your own education. I'll see you in the next video.